As Goes Janesville is a microscopic look at America in the sense that all of us are having to reinvent ourselves and reinvent the economy, whether we're talking about national scale or just in our small town or our community. I was drawn to the story of Janesville. I got curious because my wife actually grew up in Janesville, Wisconsin, and I moved to Milwaukee 8 years ago, which is about an hour and 15 minutes north and east of Janesville. So I had known about the GM plant for a long time because it's the kind of place where, you know, in Janesville, a congressman lives next door to a GM worker. You know, their salaries were commensurate. It's the middle class, and it had thrived there for a century. And so now that was gone. And when GM closed, so did lots and lots of other businesses that were part of the supply chain. So for instance, there was a big company called Lear. They made the seats that go into the Tahoes that were being built at the GM plant. And the list goes on and on and on. So I started to wonder, well, what happens to a community? How does a community adapt and reinvent itself when their entire economy is gutted? And so, you know, all of us were facing the recession. I mean, it affects every single one of us. Here was a place that was not only going to have to figure out what to do in the face of recession, but they had to do it sort of because the effects were fourfold on them. Not only were jobs decreasing, but they were just being wiped out wholesale. One of the things that I think is really going to be important about this film when it airs, and I'm hoping that it airs during the time that we're at the height of the presidential election season, is that all we're going to be talking about is the economy and jobs. And unemployment has doubled in the last 3.5 years across America, and those numbers aren't going down. And yet we have a lot of people running for office who are telling us how they're going to do X, Y, and Z in order to create jobs and in order to bolster the economy. And whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, there's a lot of inaccurate information being bandied about. And it's really, really hard for voters to understand the economy, even on a good day. But on a bad day, when it's even more important to understand the economy, it's very hard to filter out all that noise. And I feel like the human stories that we tell are a great way to try to understand what's really happening in America, and for people to be able to identify with these stories and see themselves in them, and then to identify with the way in which the characters in our film are able to reinvent their lives, are able to discover resilience and even hope, even in very difficult circumstances.